to it.
Welcome back to Break at the Apex, guys. It's myself, Graham, and BT for a Monaco race review. It was a fun, wet race, and we're going to get into it. But before we get into it, BT, how you doing?
I'm good, sir. Yourself?
No, I'm very good. I'm cold. As we've done this intro a couple times already, we have already mentioned it, but nobody will see it. But it is pretty cold, and I'm wearing two jackets. And
yeah, I'm wearing a t-shirt, so I'm taking a gamble here. Anyway,
yeah. Well, at the end of the day, as long as you're comfortable, because we are about to get into some really juicy conversations. Before we do that, if I may ask you guys, please click the subscribe button below. We would really appreciate your support. We are a growing podcast, and every little bit counts. And we would appreciate that a lot. BT's got lots of bills to pay, lots of furniture to buy because he's in a new pad. So so we'd really appreciate any support. So thanks for joining us, and let's get straight into it. So just to start off a little bit of fun, if those of you that have been watching know, we usually do the sign, reserve, fire, and the would you rather. However, today we are going to change it up, and we are going to do a guess who. So basically, I'm going to ask BT 5 questions, and after each question, he's going to guess who that person is, and we'll see how many clues it takes for him to get it. I know for a fact that he will get this person. At least if I get to the 5th clue, he'll get to this person. And I think that's the aim in the future. It is going to be set out like that. So, BT, are you ready? We're going to get going.
Ready.
Okay, great. Okay, cool. Question number 1. This person has almost founded his own team as a driver principal. So he would have been a principal and a driver of the team in 1990, but he couldn't enter due to the lack of sponsorships.
Next clue.
Okay, the next clue. He eventually bought a team that signed a deal with Peugeot for 3 years.
Sure, but next clue.
All right. He was born in Lorette in 1955. You're going to kick yourself.
Next clue.
He has won a championship with both McLaren and Williams. He's French. He almost owned a team. He did buy a team. And he's won a championship in both McLaren and Williams.
He's a Prost.
Yay! Well done, buddy. Yes, it is.
It is.
Okay, so the last clue was he is known as the professor. So you would have obviously gotten it after that. But
I almost said Niki Lauda.
Oh no, but he wasn't born in Lorette. He's Austrian, not French. But in any case. But in any case, look, not bad. I mean, those were pretty difficult. I dug deep to get that information. So, I mean, I know he's one of your favorite drivers. That's why I said you're going to kick yourself. But I mean, that kind of information is quite. I dug deep. I basically just read his entire Wikipedia page. But to be fair, these days that's digging deep. So,
thank you for not using ChatGPT, by the way. You actually went on the internet.
Oh no. All right. Okay, so there's a bit of a change to this weekend's agenda. So usually we have like a top 3 debate, and usually that happens after the race review. But what we're going to do is we've got a bit of a change up. We're going to introduce a new segment later on. And for now, we're going to do top 3 before the race review. So BT, I'm going to get into it first. I'm just going to give you my top 3. It's Perez, Stroll, and Hülkenberg. So, but what?
You're kidding me, dude. Kidding me. What?
Okay, it's got to be the 3 worst races of the weekend. So I'm gonna just be serious for a moment now. Okay, my top 3 legitimately now are Ocon, Alonso, and Russell. Now I'm just gonna kick this off the bat at the moment. This was extremely difficult. There is so many drivers that had pretty good races. There were so many drivers that had woeful races. There were drivers that did well but got messed up with the rain. Some drivers that were doing badly and got lucky with the rain. So it was a very, very difficult one. The positions didn't really paint the full picture of where they ended. But I feel like Ocon, Alonso, and George were safe bets. George made up a few places throughout the race. He had a pretty good race. But he did have one or two bad things that we'll talk about later. But I think he's probably the more debatable one out of the three that I've chosen. So I'll leave it off to you, and you can give me your three.
Okay, so I went with the same selection as well, besides Russell, and I said Norris.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So Ocon, Alonso, and Norris basically is what you went through. Is it in that order? Ocon first, Alonso second.
No, obviously Alonso first, second.
Okay. So you went Alonso. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm going to agree with that. Alonso first. I feel like I put Ocon first just because of the whole idea of he shouldn't have been there. Do you know what I mean? Like he shouldn't have been there in that sense. But in the grander scheme of things, he was there and he just had to keep it there, really. You know, it's Monaco. It's not like anybody can really pass. You know, in Alonso's case, he struggled with the wrong tire choice. Then he had to pull it back again, and so on and so on. So, okay, I'm going to agree with that. So Alonso, then Ocon, and then Norris. Can you give me a little bit more about Norris? I don't really recall much of his race other than the fact that he did actually get TV time for once. So, I mean, Zach wasn't there, so I guess you can make of that what you will. But
I mean, on my side, it's half of the weekend and half of the race, to be honest with you. I know we're doing a race review, but seeing where McLaren was a week ago, 2 weeks ago when we spoke about it, Miami, they looked horrible. They were nowhere to be seen. Finally, they caught the actual right flight, and they ended up in Monaco, and they showed up, which is quite good. But besides all the jokes, I mean, they were looking quite competitive. I don't know if it's circuit related or they did do something to the car. Did they bring some upgrades for that particular weekend? But they looked good. Norris was smiling during the weekend. I mean, even his teammate as well was doing quite good throughout the weekend and at the race. The pace was looking quite good, shockingly enough. And he had a good race. He didn't have a fantastic race or something that mind blowed me or anything like that. I just saw that they going somewhere. I saw growth. I saw progress, if I could say it. And I was surprised to see them in the top 10, to be honest with you. Yes, quality, they were looking good. They're looking quite fast. In practice 3, I watched practice 3, they were looking quite good. Their times are quite consistent, especially on the was it the softs? I'm not quite sure, the mediums or the softs, but anyway, they were looking quite good, which is mediums, yes. Yeah, so they were looking quite
but
good.
Tell me, I'm very impressed with Piastri because he seems to be keeping up with Norris quite well. I mean, if you consider Norris has been in that car for how many years, and Piastri's keeping up, so that's a good thing. I mean, it's not exactly a great car, but still, I mean, if you look at what happened with Ricciardo, Piastri is doing bits. So well played to him. I must say it's impressive. Can I just throw a spanner in the works here? I went with George. You went with Norris. I don't really recall either of them having really that great of a. I mean, obviously Norris did well, George did well, but what about Hamilton? Because he started fourth, he ended fourth, but he played the game, he played the long game. He drove like a champion. If that makes sense. I mean, he didn't really he didn't put a foot wrong. I mean, at least with Norris, he still had issues in qualifying. He cranked his car, I think, in qualifying. Whereas Lewis pretty much was quite anonymous most of the race, but he did quite well. And if you consider that the double stack that Mercedes really popped off, if you also consider the criticism that Lewis has been getting with Norris beating him from time to time, Lewis is starting to really show again that, like, listen, I am a world champion here, a 7-time world champion. You best respect me.
I think I didn't consider Lewis because maybe I expect that from him. To be honest with you,
I want to expect that from him, but they don't have the car though. That's the problem for me. And I think now
but
we have the car.
It's like when Alonso was racing for Alpine and we put Ferrari, right? Okay, let me say Ferrari rather. That car was terrible.
Yeah.
However, Alonso would have good races with that car.
Yeah.
You would finish fourth, fifth, get a podium here and there. But it's something that we actually knew you could do. So I didn't watch Hamilton and looking at Hamilton like, oh wow, he's having a brilliant run. You know how he is. You know he's a world champion. We
I guess
expect
as
that from
well.
him.
Yeah, I guess as well it's difficult when you're looking at a team like McLaren, you think, geez, like these guys, they never ever flip and score points, but now they're at least there somewhere. So okay.
That's why I brought up Norris, to be honest with you. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Okay, but I think it's still a good shot. I think I'm gonna say yes to the Norris thing. So we're gonna go Alonso with a 3-pointer. And then we're gonna go Ocon with a 2-pointer. We'll chat about Ocon a little bit later. I think it was quite an interesting it's quite an interesting prospect because I don't want to take anything away from him. But we'll discuss it later. So let's move over. I don't want to get ahead of the chat. Otherwise we just, confuse everybody. I don't want to talk about it right now. So let's just move on to the race review. But before the race review, obviously we do our 1-sentence race caption. So you can take it away, BT.
Okay. So my one is the unpredictable Monaco race.
Okay.
That's my.
Okay. You want to unpack that caption for us? Give me a 1-minute unpack.
To be honest with you, it's just the change of the conditions. Other teams panicked. Other teams didn't panic. Other teams made the right decision. Other teams didn't make the right decision. Other teams have more experienced engineers when it comes to that type of things. Some teams don't.
Some teams made the wrong decision, but then still was able to make it second. So I don't know how they.
I mean, dude, it's Aston Martin. By now, we know.
Yeah.
They're just killing it right now. But anyway,
fair enough.
Yeah, I just saw that. I just saw a lot of panic. Of course, from Ferrari. Yeah, a lot of panic there. Red Bull, of course, leading the pack with the right decisions. And funny enough, Aston Martin made the wrong decision, but they were able to correct the decision in time.
Yeah,
I think we should learn.
And we're gonna have a chat about that as well, because my dream of having my dream of Alonso winning a race this year almost did get taken away from me in a way. But we'll chat about it. As much as I am a Red Bull fan, I was definitely cheering for Alonso this weekend. I'm sorry to. I'm sorry to the other Red Bull fans. I'm not a traitor, I promise. It's just there's a soft spot here. There's a soft spot here, and I just really need to see it happen. You know what I mean? Okay, so my 1-sentence race caption was "Rain, rain, don't go away," and that pretty much just goes to the fact that Monaco is usually the most boring race unless there's rain involved. It is what it is. It's still an important racetrack. It's still an iconic racetrack. I don't think they should get rid of their racetrack. I know there's a lot of people that believe it. I'm not a fan of street tracks, but when it comes to Monaco, I just feel like there was a time where I thought get rid of it. But the more I think about it, the more I realize, but for the drivers, it's probably one of the best feelings for them to win a Monaco race. Do you know what I mean? That's why it's called the crown jewel. That's why it's part of the Triple Crown, and so on and so on. So from an F1 prospect, it needs to stay. But rain, rain, don't go away, because I feel like if we're going to have a Monaco race, it needs to be on a weekend where there's rain. If they can just try and predict that every year, that would be amazing. I'd love that. But seeing as we both got done with those race reviews, let's move into the race review itself. Now, I've got 2 questions to ask you before we move into any teams. Before the race review, and I'm talking more about practices and quali and so on, the crane came out and lifted the cars. So Mercedes got lifted, Red Bull got lifted.
Yeah.
And because of the nature of Monaco and the hills and the nature of how the track is laid out, the cranes obviously are quite high, and both floors got exposed. Now, Mercedes has just released a new floor. Red Bull has obviously got a superior floor, which everybody has been trying to copy. And now they've just literally got a full view of it.
All yeah.
So my question to you is, what do you think? Do you think that the cranes are a problem at Monaco? Do you think they need to find another way? Do you think that the floor exposure is a problem? And do you think it's going to matter? Do you think that teams are going to look at those pictures and study the floor? Or do you think they're just going to breeze past it and move on?
They're gonna look at the floor and study them.
Okay.
I mean, Formula One is about getting that competitive advantage anyway. So they are gonna look at them, they're gonna study them, and they're gonna try to copy it. The crane situation, I remember a long time ago they used to crane the car up and put it into a truck. Where were the trucks?
Yeah, that is true.
That's just my question.
But I think it's also, but I think it's also maybe they try. I think maybe from a safety point of view, I think it did work because it just meant that there was no need for any trucks to come around. It's obviously there isn't very easy access. You know what I mean? Like the access is not exactly easy because the roads are already being used. It's not like it's not like the trucks have a road to drive on. You know. Look, the way I see it, and I asked you this question because I just thought I'd like to get to. I've been seeing a couple clips on it, a couple people asking those questions. I thought from my point of view, what I would like to just say is that I'm not sure it would matter. I think it would matter in that teams are definitely going to study it. I think they're definitely going to study it, and they're definitely going to look and see how they can incorporate that flooring. However, the floor is just a single part to 1,000 odd parts of a car, of a vehicle. It could be 10,000 parts of a vehicle. I can't remember the number, to be quite honest with you, but it's a lot. It's a massive number of parts. And I think that just having the floor changed on your car is not going to work. That's why if you look at Mercedes now, they didn't just change their floor. They changed half the car because they can't just change one component. So I don't think it will matter too much. I do think that teams are 100% going to study it and see how they can make it work. But I don't think for a second that it's going to matter too much. At least it's not going to matter right now. Maybe at the end of the year when they got a little bit more time to spend on that design and see how they can get it to fit with other components, perhaps. But right now, I just don't think it's going to make that much of a difference.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not saying that they're gonna copy it to obviously do a design now, maybe for next season or something like that. You know, they do have a 100%. Team that's gonna look into that and study that and actually do a presentation or feedback to the team of what they found out and how they're going to actually be able to copy that.
100%.
Yeah, it's just advantage based, bro. It's just if they can be faster or maybe be fast by 1 second or 1 milli, whatever, they're gonna try. It's 2/10. Just to close
an extra 2/10 is 2/10. Exactly.
Just to close that gap. So
all right.
Why not?
And then the next question is do you think the cars are too wide? Because this question I see a lot coming up. I'm gonna start off with my answer. So these two questions I got off by seeing a lot of clips. Now I'm gonna give my answer first, and then you can add whatever you'd like to add to it. Now, I'm going to say yes, 100%. And I don't think that there's any secret. I think most people will say yes. I think most people have said yes. Most people that understand technicalities of the sport will most likely say yes, they are. The reason is, and it definitely showed in this year's Monaco race, because if you look at previous years where the cars weren't as big, if we take, for example, Max Verstappen 2018 having to come from the back of the field, he was able to put in those dive bombs at the end of the chicane, at the end, out of the tunnel down to the chicane. He was able to put in those dive bombs. During Raskas, they were able to slip on the inside. I mean, I saw Stroll do it once. I don't know if anybody else did it. But you know, at the end of the day, the overtake definitely looked a lot more difficult. I know, obviously, Monaco is not exactly an overtaking fest, but it is possible to overtake there. Whereas in this race, it looked almost impossible in many cases. So that's just pretty much my answer. Don't know if you have anything to add.
Let's put Perez there. Do you think Perez will be if the cars were not that wide? Do you think Perez will be able to do what Verstappen done in 2018?
I mean, to be honest with you, maybe not this weekend because he was absolutely woeful in everything he did. It just definitely was not something. I don't even know what to say. Let's move on. To answer your question, yes, possibly, just maybe not this weekend, but yes, possibly. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think so too. To be honest with you, and that's one of the things I was looking at while I was watching the race. That these cars are wide, and overtaking Monaco for those cars, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's as you mentioned, it's either you do it from a slipstream or by the tunnel, maybe when you go past the tunnel, maybe that's possible as well. And it just took me back when I used to watch a couple of highlights during the 80s or the early 90s. Those Formula One cars were quite small. So if you watch those races, you'll see there's a lot of overtakes there. Because those cars are quite tiny and quite small. So I don't know.
Fair enough.
If I just need to, I don't know, rethink about how they're going to approach that problem, because that is a problem. It's literally we're watching a traffic fest at Monaco, to be honest.
All right. Well, those are two technical questions for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the answers. And if you guys would like to add anything, let us know in the comments what you think. Let us know in the comments if you have any type of opinion on either of those two questions. I'd like to really try and understand what people feel about the current sort of like F1 direction. It seems like these cars just get bigger and bigger, and I feel like that's possibly the wrong direction. Soon enough, we'll be driving trucks. You know what I mean? Like Tesla trucks. Like, everything's going to be electric to save the animals and the people's air, and they're going to be big enough to not let anybody pass in any track, so soon it's going to be Tesla trucks,
and the engineer will be an AI system anyway.
ChatGPT. They're just going to
Christian Horner.
There's gonna be one guy on the pad. It's gonna be Christian Horner. He's gonna be sitting there and he's just gonna be asking ChatGPT. And then Adrian Newey is gonna be working for Google trying to sort out the ChatGPT answers, which will be going to all the it's interesting. Anyways, moving on.
We go in there anyway.
Yes. Okay. Let's get into the teams now. I'm going to start off with the rest of the field. And I'm going to say that there isn't a lot of things I would like to cover here. I've only got 3 things that I'd like to cover. 2 of them as part of the same thing. And then one of them not so much. The first one I'd like to start off, just so that we can...
Hungry.
Dog is hungry, I think. The first thing I'd like to... Stop it. The first thing I'd like to start off with is McLaren double points. And coincidentally, Zak Brown was not at the race. So I've been saying for a while that Zak Brown needs to disappear. And the one time that he does, they get double points. So I'm just thinking that a petition for Zak Brown to disappear permanently should be made, because I loved seeing McLaren in double points, or 2 McLarens in the points. Not sure what of those makes sense, but either I'm sure you guys all understand what I'm trying to say. So that's the first point I'd like to point out. And then the second thing I'd like to talk about when it comes to the rest of the field. Personally, I'm going to just put it out there. The rest of the field were pretty much useless. I really couldn't care less about any of them. I don't think anybody else remembers anything about the rest of the field other than the Alpines. The Alpines are pretty much the only team that people are going to worry about here. So I'm going to talk about that, because what I would like to put out is I'd like to put out the fact that Ocon showed Laurent Rossi that Alpine is a good team and that they do have a car that can be reckoned with moving forward. Only on tracks when there's no possible way to overtake, though, because I mean it's pretty easy to defend when nobody can overtake you. And I know that is maybe just a bit of a funny thing to say. But the reason I'm saying that is because Ocon did extremely well to put that car in the top 3, and well done to him. But in the race, I gotta say, Sainz was all over him, and he just they weren't fast. They weren't fast at all. But the fact is, it's so easy to keep track position at Monaco. So what I'm trying to say is, Alpine did do well in qualifying. Ocon did do well in qualifying, but in the race, I really don't actually think that they did very well. I think they got great positions, but those came from their quali. But from a race point of view, I may be probably one of the only people saying this, and I just don't think that they did. I think, the way Sainz was all over him. I mean, that guy got angry. I've never seen Sainz get so hot-headed. Like, he just got so angry, and then just ended up in him. Never mind. That sounds a bit dirty, but you know what I mean. Like, he's
yeah.
And Sainz, I'll be honest, I feel bad for him, but at the same time, it's his own stupidity, because this is F1. Getting hot-headed isn't going to really help. But in any case, yeah, Alpine did well this weekend. I'll give it to them, but I genuinely don't think that they did. I genuinely don't think that they really showed an improvement in any way, because in the race they still seemed pretty slow.
Yeah, I agree with you there, to be honest with you. I have nothing to add on there, to be honest. They just took advantage of where they placed, which is the important event the whole weekend was their quali, and they done well in their quali, and they just ripping off the benefits of that, to be honest with you. Of course, they're not that quick. Miami has showed us, Jeddah has showed us that they're not that quick. It's just that Monaco is one of those races where if you have a good quali session, 80%, 70% of the time, you will stay in the same position, and you will do well for that particular race. So I'm the same ballpark as you as well on that.
All right. Okay, so we both agree that Alpine are terrible, and that Laurent Rossi is right to get rid of Otmar at some point.
It's circumstance based, bro. They are bad, but it's circumstance based. Let's just say it that way.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. So moving on from that, before we get to the big boys, why don't we have a little chat about? I've got this running joke. I've got this running joke on TikTok again. I don't know if people are complaining now. I'm always talking about TikTok. But it is where most of the action goes, and it's where most of our marketing goes, and it's where most of our sort of outside of the podcast work goes. So I've got this running joke where I have explained that Ferrari are run by Ronald McDonald and Krusty the Clown. And I think I've got a couple of followers that have quite enjoyed that. And so we've got this running joke on there about it. So this morning I made a 60-second race review whereby I said that Ferrari have let Ronald McDonald come back for a once-off race to run them through the Monaco GP. And to his standard, their strategy was on point, because obviously his standards aren't exactly Formula One standards. Do you know what I mean? It's pretty much clownish. So considering we're talking about Ronald McDonald, we obviously know where this is going. BT, I don't know. I've got very little notes here about Ferrari. I give up. I have nothing to say. I will put my notes forward, but I feel like I should give you, as the Ferrari fan, the chance to get something off your chest, or to just mention whatever it is that you would like to talk about.
To be honest, I'm with you, eh?
over it.
I have nothing to say. Yeah, it's really disappointing, and the sad thing is that I literally can see Leclerc's frustration. I can see it.
Yeah.
It's there. I read an article last week where they said that finally the team principal he's done overlooking at what was happening
Yeah.
in the team, and he's ready to implement his own strategies. Wow, I'm so happy that you're done with that. Took
Yeah.
you a while. Why would you
Okay.
report why would you report that? Actually, you're done overseeing where Ferrari is.
Yeah.
Now you're ready to put in your strategies. We don't need to hear that. We just want to see results, to be honest with you. But Graham, I'll let you go first and I'll go after you.
Man just needs a bit of time to cool off before he starts. So listen, okay. First of all, where was Leclerc? Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I saw him once the entire race. I'm not sure if maybe.
In your home race. At your home race, please.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I'm just like that guy. He could literally do that track with his eyes closed. I mean, like he walked those streets his entire life. So it's like I'm not entirely sure how the TV director decided not to show Leclerc, but I'm pretty certain I barely ever saw him. Like I
Yeah.
think McLaren got more screen time in Miami than he got here. So, and I mean, McLaren didn't even pitch up to Miami. They weren't even there. So I don't know what that
Bro.
tells you, really. Um, any case, yeah, that's just my question was where was the clue? And then the next thing I'd like to point out is just science. I'm in two minds about this one, and I know that you're not his biggest fan, but science has impressed me and angered me at the same time because first of all, he looked quick. He looked quicker than Leclerc. He looked like he was on it. He looked like he looked like the signs that I saw in the McLaren. He was on it. He was just on it. Uh, but then he got hot-headed and just started making terrible mistakes. Going into the back of Ocon and then screaming at the team on the pit on the radio. Um, and then when they said to him, but we needed to make sure that we didn't get caught by Hamilton, and he says, but I don't care about Hamilton. I care about Ocon. No, but you are only seeing what's in front of you. But Hamilton really wasn't all that far behind, so you had to have cared about. It's like he almost wasn't really understanding the team's point of view there. And I think that the team were right when it came to his strategy. I'm going to give it to them. I think when it came to his strategy, for the most part, they were actually right. But grander scheme of things, they obviously stuffed up quite a bit big time, especially they got caught napping yet again when it came to the whole rain situation, where they had to end up double stacking and so on. So in terms of Ferrari as a team, in shambles yet again. In terms of races, Leclerc, I don't know, I can't comment because I never saw him. Sainz, I think, did extremely well, but just got too hot-headed, which is very odd for me to say. I don't think I've ever seen Sainz get hot-headed. It's actually quite interesting that I'm saying that. I would like to just touch on what you said earlier about Fred Vasseur saying what he said. I don't recall seeing that, so I'll take your word for that. However, I have had a conversation recently with somebody where I was saying that I feel that is what he's doing, and I don't think he's done yet. I think that that's all he's going to do this entire year. I think his job now is to just sit and observe that team and how they work. It's to do nothing and sit and observe and see what they and I don't think it's the wrong approach. I think Ferrari fans need to maybe accept that this year is going to be a shambles still, because I think that the right approach is for new management. When a business gets new management and the business has been in trouble, there's a reason why they got new management. And I think the best thing for new management to do in all cases is to sit back and watch where the problems lay and then start making your changes. Now, I don't think it's something that can happen in 6 or 7 races. I think he needs to sit and observe for the entire season. And at the end of the season, he needs to make the big calls, as in fire this person, fire that person, bring in this person, bring in that person. And you got to admit that it hasn't been easy when he's also been losing a lot of his own key staff to other teams. So I want to still have faith for Fred Vasseur. I still think that it's possible that he can still do a good thing with that team. I'm losing faith in Ferrari more and more as the races go on, but I keep trying to remind myself that he's observing. He's observing, and I really hope that I'm correct, because if he isn't, I don't think Ferrari will ever win a championship again, which we've said obviously before. But that's the truth, and I think a lot of people will agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, 100%, 100% agree with you with the observing part. My only issue is that I don't know if his interviews are leaked or whatever, but my main thing is that, yeah, don't tell us. We know you're observing the team out there working and stuff. I don't want to, as a Ferrari fan, if the team is struggling on the circuit, the least thing I want to hear about is the team principal observing how the operations are going within the team.
Yeah.
What I want to actually read about is which upgrades you bring to this circuit and that circuit. I
What
think
changes are you going to make to fix it?
Yes, to the actual
fair
car,
enough.
just to save the season, you know.
Do you think that Ferrari has given Vasseur a timeline in the sense of saying, look, you've got 3 years or 2 years, or do you think that if he doesn't pull something out there, if he doesn't pull a rabbit out of the hat by the end of the season, they're going to let him go? What do you think about that?
I think at the moment Ferrari is stuck in between. Do we want to win a championship with Leclerc?
Yeah.
They're stuck between that, and he's stuck in what you just said now, is that are they going to give him 5 years or 4 years to implement that goal? So it's either those two, you know, because they want to retain Leclerc, you know, but still they want the new team principal to look at how they work and maybe do his changes the next season. So they're stuck in between that. And what's bothering me or annoying me is that it seems like Leclerc or even Sainz and the team principal and Ferrari as an organization are not in the same wavelength at the moment.
Yeah.
Leclerc wants to win now. But we can't win now because we don't have the car to win now. Now there's news that, not news, but now we have a new team principal that's looking at how Ferrari is working. So how is that an ingredient for us to win a championship now or maybe the next season?
Yeah.
Maybe next season, but I'm probably gunning for 2025, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Understand?
Oh, that's
so
fair.
I think Ferrari Ferrari's trying to kill two birds with one stone, which is sometimes it's not the right strategy. Because now
look, I mean, Fred
is all over the place.
Fred is the one that groomed Leclerc into the sport, so I think they've got a good relationship in any case. So it should work. And if you think about it, I don't think there's another driver on the field right now that is more passionate about winning with Ferrari than Leclerc. So Ferrari need Leclerc. I think that's just the fact of it, is that they need Leclerc more than Leclerc needs them, because he's the only one that is passionate enough about winning for Ferrari. I don't think any other driver cares about who they win for. He wants to win with Ferrari. That is the key thing right there. So if they just give him the car and let him do it, I'm sure he'll come right with all of his other mistakes that he keeps making. I personally feel like the only reason he makes those mistakes is because he's overdriving the car. But if you had a car that you couldn't overdrive, he would be fine. If he was in that Red Bull, for example, he would be fine. It's just one of those things, I think.
Look, if Leclerc signs an extension, we're on our way then. Now there's goals now. Sign the extension.
Yeah.
Team principal has overseen everything. He has his own strategies.
Yeah.
Built a good car. Make sure that we have sharp strategies throughout the year and we know what we're doing. For example, Ferrari doing bluff pit stops during the race. Why? Did you see that? I don't know if I was the only one seeing
Listen, mate, the only one The only one Ferrari was bluffing was themselves. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Like, dude, I was laughing. I was like, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing? They come out, then they stand, then they go inside again. I'm like, dude, do you know how many Formula One teams have done that strategy before? Come on.
That's a
Come
Mercedes
on.
special. That's a Mercedes special.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, but
I was about to say,
I
but
mean,
anyway,
I'm not gonna lie. I genuinely, I spoke about this yesterday. I genuinely don't think they were bluffing anybody. I think they bluffed themselves. I genuinely think that they
themselves,
really wanted.
yes, of course. Yeah,
I think that there was a miscommunication there, which is very typical of Ferrari. But it's easy to play it off as a bluff. You know what I mean? But I genuinely
yeah,
think there was a miscommunication there. But okay. Anyways, look, obviously we need to move on. So
yeah.
let's get on to Aston Martin. Now, Aston Martin's going to be a quick one for me. Alonso could have won that race. Alonso could have won that race if he
Yes,
didn't put
yes.
the mediums on. There was break F1. One of the he is a former Red Bull engineer. He is now a podcaster and a TikToker and a
Okay.
Instagrammer and blah 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 blah. He obviously is still engineer as a person. What? I don't even know if that made sense. He is still an engineer of some kind of a degree, so he still gets access to a lot of data, and he obviously reads the data and so on. And he was actually showing a lot of data that shows that obviously we don't know what Max would have done after he had, like, in terms of his outlap and so on. We don't know what he would have done, but from the data that was shown, um, Alonso would have passed him when he went into the pits, because Alonso would have had put the inters on first. Max would have then had a slower in lap, and he would have had the quicker out
Yeah.
lap. And the data shows that he would have passed him. So all he would then need to do from there, obviously Max is a bit more aggressive than, say, for example, Perez, Sainz, and all of those things. So maybe Max would have found a way to pass. But in terms of, I mean, it's come on, it's Alonso. That's we're talking about a defending king there. You know what I mean? So I
I was
think the
about
win
to
got
say that
snatched
as well.
away.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the win for Alonso was on, and it's got snatched away a little bit. And look, I don't wanna be too harsh on Aston Martin, because the fact that they are where they are is still amazing, and the fact that they came second and they still had to pit again, to me, is still amazing. So I'm gonna say well done Aston Martin, well done Alonso. I think Alonso, again, in that 60-second race review, again, I stated there that Alonso was getting his shoulders massaged after the race because he carried that team. I'm not sure why Stroll decided Monaco was the best place to start throwing dive bombs, because he was just trying to dive everybody. I'm not entirely sure where he
Wow.
got. I'm not sure where he, like, like on a Monday before the race, you start getting like, like you start going through the track, you start trying to remember the track. I'm not sure where along the lines he thought that Monaco was a good place to start showing my aggression. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've
Yeah.
been wanting to see Stroll with a little bit more, oomph. We've been wanting to see him with a bit of a killer instinct, but he decided that he just wanted to kill himself. Basically, that's all he wanted to do, because he decided that he was going to start doing those kinds of things at Monaco, where it's just not possible to do those kinds of things at Monaco. So
Not at all.
personally, that's all I have to say on Aston Martin. I think Alonso carried the team. Stroll had an extremely woeful weekend, much like Perez, actually. It's actually funny, Aston Martin and Red Bull were just completely, uh, their best two drivers were 1 and 2, and their last two drivers were basically the bottom two drivers. If you think about it,
Yeah.
that's actually quite intense, right?
Yeah.
1 and 2, and
Yeah, it
like,
is.
it's actually hectic. Actually, Stroll
But
DNF'd, actually. Stroll DNF'd, but he was at the back. And Perez was
yeah.
also with him. So that's actually quite strange. But a woeful weekend for him. Great weekend for Alonso. Aston Martin could have won the win, but at the same time, you can't blame them as well. Hey? You can't say that they got the strategy wrong. It was a gamble either way. They just went the wrong way. But
Yeah.
I don't think we can really blame them as such. I think they did well to get second in
Um,
the first
I
place.
mean, yeah, I mean they did well to defend that second because
Yeah.
the blunder they made, anything could happen. So Well done to them, for
Yeah.
Stroll, weekend to forget. To be honest with you,
100%.
he said exact the same thing. Post race conference, it's a weekend to forget, and yeah, I'm totally with you
Yeah.
with him being aggressive in the wrong track. Quite
Yeah.
dangerous, to be honest with you. Alonso, good season so far. I have nothing to say regarding Alonso. He's just
Yeah. We
showing
just
us, and
expect
he's
him to be
making,
there now.
to be honest with you, and I'm gonna say a wild take now, and we're gonna move on. Alonso is showing us that he might be the best ever to do it. I'm just gonna put it
I
up there.
I genuinely think that, considering his age, and criticism that he's gotten for it, I genuinely think that nobody should underestimate this guy. He's going to win a race this year. I'm still convinced. At some point, Max is going to have a bad weekend, and Perez is just not going to be on the pace or something. I'm pretty certain at some point Alonso is going to win a race this year, and he'll be the first person to win a race after 300 races, eh? But I'm pretty certain it's going to happen.
Wow.
Um, and even if it doesn't, I think what he is doing is he's proving to people that he is still Alonso, and that
Yeah.
given the car, he will still win a championship if he had the car with. And I think that's a big statement to make, because he's got a couple years to go now. And if you consider, if Aston Martin can't hang on to him, or if Aston Martin can give him the car, cool. But if they can't give him the car, you're looking at a team like Ferrari and a team like Merc. If Lewis goes and Alonso still decides to stay, you're looking at a potential world champion quality driver here. So I
Yeah.
think that's good. Let's move on to Mercedes.
Cool.
Very, very mediocre weekend. I can't say anything bad or good about them. I think they did all right. They did okay. I can't see that the upgrades really made a difference, but it is Monaco. I don't think we were supposed to see any difference in Monaco. I think perhaps we'll see it on a more open track, but for Monaco, they were there. I mean, that they pitched and they did their best. Fourth and fifth is nothing to laugh about. That's good finishing
Yeah.
positions. Obviously George had his moment where he came on and got yeeted by Perez, but I mean, so be it. He did come on in a bad way, and I think he got a penalty for it as well. So, to be fair, it was his own fault. I do think that George is definitely showing that champion mentality. And I know a lot of people. I've watched a couple other people talking about how they don't really like the way he is doing it, because he's kind of got that entitlement. And to a degree, it does annoy me, because I feel like he should have a little bit more respect for the 7-time world champion that's in the other car. But at the same time, I'm kind of sitting there like, right, but when Max did it to Daniel, nobody cared. All they said was, this kid is going to be a world champion. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Daniel was a
Exactly.
proven race winner at that point, and Max was
Exactly.
doing similar things. I think, people might not like to hear it, because George, because Lewis is probably like their sort of like, um, you know what I mean? It's their love. I don't know how to even say it, to be honest. I'm actually so lost for words, but um, yeah, I just think that they don't like the fact that it's being done to Lewis in that sense, that George is taking on Lewis. But I think at the end of the day, people just need to understand that George has a champion mentality, and I think that's all it is. I think if he is going to take over that team and run that team, he needs to have that about him. So I've got nothing more to add on Mercedes. That's all I
I
can say,
mean,
really.
yeah, to be honest with you, I'm glad you actually spoke about that, because that's something I've been telling you about, is
Mm,
that he has to step into those shoes in order for
yeah,
him to run that team in the near future. But in
yeah,
terms of Mercedes, also nothing to say about that. Only thing I can say is that they are closer to Ferrari now, so we should check that out. They're all
yeah,
quite closer now than the beginning of the season. So that's going to
yeah.
be an interesting fight there between Mercedes and Ferrari. We'll see throughout the
Personally,
season and see how that goes.
personally, I think they were always better than Ferrari, but I mean, that's just my take.
Yeah, but Graham, beginning of the season they won, they were not. So the grounds they've made so far is quite good. So it means
Can
whatever
I
they do into that car is working.
can I just say one thing? Can I just say I personally believe, and if you just watch the team, right? I still personally believe that that's one of the best teams on the grid. Not the car, the team itself. I think they're an extremely well-oiled machine. If you look at that double stack that they had, worked perfectly. They still have everything on point. Everything is so well managed and so well done. Hats off to Toto. I mean, I'm not a big Toto fan as a competitor, but I do think as a boss, he's amazing. And if I'm really honest with you, that team is well managed. They're well oiled. And I just say that because you can see that that is a good team. You can see that things work in that team. The only thing is that they just got it wrong with the car, and now they don't have a car that's winning. But whatever they do every weekend still works for them. You know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
and I think race in and for the last couple of races, they've been getting the most out of that car that they can get, and that's all you can ask for. So you can't really diminish them as a team. They are a good team. I still think they've got, if not the best, they are at least one of the best teams on the grid. So yeah, I just wanted to add that. Not that it has anything to do with the race, but I just felt like I needed to add that. Anyways, let's move on to Red Bull quickly. Cool. I mean, look, Max control that. I mean, look, I don't even think we need to talk about this for too long. I mean, look, we cannot keep saying how good Red Bull are. It's written in the stars. We know it. There's literally nothing else that we can say that everybody has heard anything we can say. All I can say about this weekend was the fact that Max controlled the race like a champion. He was in control of that race from start to end, and he could have lost it had Aston Martin put on the right strategy from the start. But I think what Max was doing was the right approach. He was feeling the track, and the fact that he was able to feel the track and not put it in the wall at some point, well played to him. But that was a championship drive. It was a well-controlled drive. And the only other thing I can say about Red Bull was Perez was absolutely woeful, and he should have just gone home. When he crashed in qualifying, that he should have just gone home. Or he could have gone to stay in Max's flat or something. Max obviously lives in Monaco, so I don't know, man. Like he just again, I've got no words. He literally had one of those weekends that I mean, he won last year. He won last year, and this year he couldn't make one turn without knocking into somebody. I think he had contact with 4 drivers, and he put it in the wall in qualifying. I mean, that Oak was like, it's almost like he had like a magnet on his car, and Oaks were just, Anyways, that's all I can say about Red Bull.
But I know Max Verstappen had a great weekend. Sport quali for Aston Martin as usual.
Yeah, Max
look, dude, he's winning his third championship. Let's just put it on record now. And it's gonna happen.
Yeah, he's definitely starting to leave Perez behind now. Anybody that thought that Perez was gonna take it to Max is probably crying.
I was about to say that I once upon a time actually said that, because literally they're on the same car, but the drivers are different. So
yeah,
Perez, awful weekend. One you should forget about. Your only chance to win another race now, because you are the street king, street circuit king, whatever you call it. And you just had a horrible weekend. You just should move on to the next race. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's the race review done. There's not much else we can cover. Like I said earlier, the other teams don't really matter. I don't think anybody will remember anything that happened with the other teams. I certainly don't.
Especially Haas.
And I yeah, no, they had a terrible weekend as well. Hulkenberg also decided that this was going to be a good place to throw some dive bombs as well. Anyways, okay, so we thought we were going to add in a new segment. So obviously at this point we usually do top 3, but we've already done top 3. So the new little segment is just going to be the moment of the weekend. Now I'm going to start with this just to sort of give you guys a little lowdown as to what this is about. Moment of the weekend has got nothing to do with the race. It's got to do with your favorite moment of the weekend. It could be quali, it could be the race, it could be a specific driver, it could be a specific event, it could be It could be something that's not even race related or quali related. It could be something that happened in the stands, whatever. I think that this is something that we might stick with, but we'll see how it goes. To me, moment of the week was Q3, Ocon, Alonso, and Max. I was camping and I was not able to watch quali, so I was literally sitting with my phone and I was watching the timings. Now, I do have F1 TV, humble brag, but I had bad signal, so I couldn't really watch. So I had the timing sheets, and I think for somebody who's not watching, I was messaging people to say, is quali is absolutely going crazy. And they were like messaging back saying, yes, it is. And I could see it just by watching the timing sheets because things were just changing constantly. And I'm just thinking, what is going on here? I'm seeing 2 minutes left. Ocon has gone first. Like, what? Hello, hang on. What's going on here? 1 minute left. Alonso's first. It didn't even show that Max was on a lap. And then all of a sudden, Max's name popped up first. And I'm thinking, what the flip is going on here? This thing has gone mental. To put it out there, Max just has to spoil the party, man. Could he not just let Alonso do it just once, man?
I'm also, that's also my moment of the week as well. And just to add on that is that, dude, Alonso was purple throughout the 3 sectors.
Exactly.
Just think about that. Max was green, I think, in the first sector.
Green, purple.
Green in the second. And the third sector is purple. I'm like, what the living?
You know that he was two
gymnastics are we watching?
Gymnastics. You know he was two. You know he was 2 tenths down before the third sector.
I know.
So whatever he did in the third sector was absolutely unreal. So I got to give it to Max, obviously, and we always have to when it. He does do this. He does put in these types of things, and that's why he's a world champion. But oh my goodness gracious me. Wow. Could he just not give Alonso a chance just once? Just give Alonso the podium.
Alonso's probably laughing.
A special mention.
Surely, knowing him.
Probably. And he likes Max as well. So I think he probably took that quite well. A special mention to moment of the weekend was actually the interview between Max and Alonso. The interview, the press conference with Max and Alonso, where they asked Fernando about he's smelling of flowers at Miami and him liking flowers. And Max, after they were talking, Max mentioned to him, but I have a couple flowers at home if you want to come and visit them. And Alonso's response was, yeah, sure, I'll come. But it all just depends on what you do in turn 1 tomorrow. What? Or it all depends on how aggressive you, or how aggressive you. It all depends on how aggressive you are in turn 1 tomorrow. So I found that to be quite funny. Okay, so let's
competitive, man.
Yeah, but he's also funny, man. Like I think that was such a nice tongue-in-cheek type of humor, a good laugh between the two. The two of them love it. The two of them love each other, but I don't know how they can't. They're the same person, man. They're both really nice and
similar
I know,
drivers.
Yeah, and I know, like the press used to paint Alonso as a villain, and now they're doing the same to Max. But both of them are genuinely nice guys, and other drivers say the same about them. It's literally just sort of like it's how they've been portrayed in the sport that makes them bad. But in any case, okay, so the blooper of the week for me, Perez. I mean, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I'm sure you're gonna have something similar.
Sainz. Mine is Sainz.
Okay, fair enough. I personally think Sainz did well, but at the same time, that hot-headedness obviously got the better of him. Okay.
Help the team.
Look, we're not going to go too far into that. Obviously, in South Africa, guys, if you don't know, in South Africa, we have a thing called load shedding, which BT is about to hit. And what happens with load shedding is that in South Africa, the electricity just goes off like for 2 hours at a time, a few times a day. If it goes off now, we wouldn't be able to see BT whatsoever unless he smiles. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, that was
okay.
That was
I'm used to these jokes, guys. Don't worry about it.
I'm not
I'm used to
cutting that
these
one
jokes.
out. I cut the last one out because it was a little borderline, but this one I'm keeping in.
Yeah.
Um. Anyways, the point is, he's about to cut off, so we're not going to beat around the bush too much. My blooper of the week is Perez and Sainz for BT. We're almost done, so we're just going to get straight into the top 3 predictions for the next race. And I would just like to point out that we obviously do have a prediction championship running between us, and we're going to see at the end of the year who is the champion of Break at the Apex. BT is currently leading by 1. We did have for Imola a prediction, which we obviously didn't have a race, so that didn't count. And because we weren't able to get to each other during the week, I had a pretty long week last week. So because we weren't really able to get to it, we didn't make predictions for Monaco. So those 2 weekends, I've just cancelled them out. So we're just going to continue with Spain. We're not going to add any points for this week. So we're just going to continue to Spain, and we're going to give our predictions for the next race. So BT, I don't know if you want to get yours started and go with it, and I will do mine afterwards.
Verstappen, Alonso, Sainz.
Science. Didn't you just say he was your blooper?
Yes, Sainz. Home
Okay.
race. They look good in
Yeah.
that car, besides the blooper reels that he made during the race. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Well, I'm going to go. Hear me out. I'm going to go Alonso,
Wow.
Perez, Sainz. Look, man.
Verstappen's gonna have one of
Max,
those weekends.
Max has to DNF at some point. Come on. He has to, right? And I know people are starting to think I'm probably not a Red Bull supporter anymore. I love Max. I love Red Bull. I just want Alonso to win, damn it. But in any case, besides the point, no. Genuinely, I'm going to go Alonso, Perez, Sainz, obviously home race, Alonso home race, and Perez, obviously he's also Spanish speaking, so close enough. I don't know if that's racist or not, but I'm going to go with it. And then, I think either something's going to happen with Max or he's going to DNF or something. Something has to happen at some point with this guy. He can't win everything. So I'm going to make it this weekend. So I'm going Alonso, Perez, Sainz. So that is the predictions for the Spanish GP. So I don't know if you've got any final thoughts, BT, before we head off.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for tuning in, guys. It's been a while. Graham is a bit rusty.
That
please
was
leave some
the most
comments
exciting final thoughts I've ever seen in my life.
Graham is rusty, guys. Please leave some comments on our YouTube channel about
sorry guys.
episode.
If I've been dry, if I've been dry,
Graham looks.
Yeah. If I've been dry today, I really apologize. I need to get back into the swing of things. I know I'm usually the witty type, but let's just say that I'll get better. But guys, please stay tuned for more episodes. Go hit us up on TikTok. We have a lot of fun there, a lot of funny videos, a lot of enjoyable content, and some good information and education. If you'd like to learn some things, I put out some good stats. I'm currently putting out every single champion that ever lived in the sport. So please head over to the TikTok and go give us a follow and subscribe down below to see more of our YouTube content, which currently is only the podcast, but we will give you guys more content in the future. Just at the moment, we're just focusing on one thing at a time for now. But if you want some more fun content, head over to TikTok. BT, that's it from me. I'm gonna sign us out. It's been us at Break at the Apex. Cheerio, guys.
Cheers,
Bye.
guys. Cheers, bye.